Hey guys, welcome back to Coleman Nation. Today we're going to talk about a very unique way of measuring our progress as a civilization and our ability to take it to the next level. I had done this episode, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago when I was first getting started. I just thought the content was awesome, and it was something that was really eye-opening to me the first time that I'd heard it. And it was something that I really wanted to talk about because it was something that personally was inspiring to me. And this is the concept of the Kardashev Scale. So welcome back. Let's get going on today's episode of the Coleman Nation. Let's go. I was recently studying something fascinating called the Kardashev Scale. Something popped up on my YouTube channel, or on my YouTube feed a while ago. And I think it was from the website Kurzgesagt or something like that. It's got like 11 million followers or something like that. They do these little cartoons. And I was like, oh, wow, I'd never heard of that before. And this is something that they did an episode on called the Kardashev Scale. It was developed. This scale particularly was developed in 1964 by a Russian astrophysicist named Nikolai Kardashev. It's funny because we were doing some of the editing of this, and it kept popping up with the Kardashev scale was the autocorrect as we're going through this. And I was like, I don't know that I really want to understand how the Kardashev scale works and if it would help society in any way, shape, or form. Hasn't so far. But anyways, I digress. The Kardashev scale, what does it do? It measures the advancement of a civilization based on its ability to efficiently utilize energy in planetary orders of magnitude, meaning how does a society use the energy that it's exposed to within the context and the construct of its current existence. That means utilizing our own planet and then reaching out from there in orders of magnitude, and we'll talk about that in a second. The original Kardashev scale had 3 levels, and since then there have been others with 7 or 9, which you can find out on the internet. People keep sort of like, one-upping what the original scale had. And so you can kind of go in and look at it, and it goes everything that we'll talk about. It extends into multi-dimensional, existences and so forth. But today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 5-level Kardashev scale and cover each one of the levels of the Kardashev scale. That's actually why I have this shirt here, Strive for 5. Here it's available. You can click on the link if you want to get a copy of this shirt. It's actually pretty cool, but nice material and whatnot. But okay, let's get some merchandise going on. I put together a couple of these shirts with our skateboarding astronaut, So anyways, I think that's a good logo for us. But anyways, let's keep going. So let's talk about the Kardashev scale, starting with level 1. Level 1 is a civilization that can use its own planet's energy efficiently and can also influence the weather. Are we currently able to do that? The answer to that question is no, we're not there yet. American astronomer and scientist Carl Sagan theorized that we are right now, as a civilization, somewhere between a 0.6 and 0.7 on the scale. He theorized that we will hit level 1 in about 200 years. I think that's pretty wild to think that we aren't even a level 1 civilization yet. And you'll hear what they are as the orders of magnitude start to expand. But I'm going to pose this question right now. What if we just define level 1 or any of these levels and see if we can compress the time horizons to get there? And this is something that I'm really inspired by Elon Musk about, is the fact that if we look at what the ideal is, most people don't even know what the Kardashev scale is. But if we had it in our mind, the ideal, now we have something to strive for. And so if we can go, okay, well, what is a level 1 society? And can we shave off 100 years? Could we shave off 150 years and actually get there? That's what my whole argument is on making society better, is maybe people can be inspired to sort of circumvent the length of time that it would take in order for us to be able to hit level 1 as a society. And that's really why I'm doing this. I don't know if I can shave off 1,000 years or 10,000 years or 50 years from, moving us from one level to the next. But we have to start thinking about these things if we want to advance civilization as a whole. We also have to have the consideration that we can break out of this mold and make the world a better place. So that's Kardashev level 1, and it's just being able to use our own planetary energy, everything from geothermal to weather, to all of the, resources within our singular planet. That would be level 1. Let's go on to level 2. Kardashev level 2 is for the civilization now has the ability to use the resources of its own solar system efficiently. So now we've completely mastered, right, the weather, the energy, any of the stuff having to do with environmental causes is now we understand the cause and effect of weather and all of the ecosystems within our planet. And so now the whole concept of environmental decay has completely gone away. This is one of the reasons why I think if we were to shave off an extra 100 years or 150 years off of Kardashev level 1, the time that it takes us to get to Kardashev level 1, that we would make some tremendous strides. And it would also free up, our own mental capacity to start striving for the next level, which would be level 2, which is the efficient utilization of the resources of our solar system. So we would have efficient interplanetary travel. Man, I was so inspired this morning that Elon Musk said that he's going to send an unmanned space crew to Mars within the next 2 years. And the reason being is that there's a window that's opening for us to be able to launch with the trajectories required, launch a ship to leave Earth to hit, to hit Mars within 2 years. And then if that is successful, 2 years after that, we would be able to send a manned, deployment to Mars. And I'm saying, dude, that's 4 years. Like he has a goal that within 4 years, we're going to send a manned crew to Mars. That's awesome. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Most people weren't thinking about a 4-year time horizon for getting us to Mars. Do you have any idea how much that would compress the timeframes of getting us to the Kardashev level 2? Unbelievable. So if we do that, if we're able to do that, we could use resources from here all the way out to Pluto and the extended parts of our particular solar system at Kardashev level 2. I was reading an article that said there's an asteroid in our solar system that has enough gold to make everyone on Earth a trillionaire at the current prices of gold. Now, obviously, with that much gold and the supply and demand, if you have that much supply, people wouldn't really want gold at that point. But that's the point, is that at today's current rates, there's enough gold on a single asteroid that every single person on the planet could be a trillionaire. That is amazing, right? So it would cause gold to not be worth very much. But I think it's really interesting that this mineral that is so scarce and rare here is actually in tremendous abundance throughout the universe. There's also, this is another article that I was reading, is that there's within our own backyard, our own celestial backyard here in our own solar system, there's a single asteroid that is worth quadrillions of dollars in iron ore. So we literally have no limitations on the energy in our own backyard and the resources within our own backyard if we can efficiently learn to utilize these resources that are, right within arm's length on an interplanetary scale. So now let's talk about the third level of the Kardashev scale. Could society effectively use the resources of its entire galaxy? In our case, the Milky Way. There are 100 billion stars in the Milky Way, which breaks down to about 7 stars for every man, woman, and child on Earth. Can you imagine each one of us owning 7 stars? And that is just this galaxy. There are billions, if not trillions, of galaxies throughout the universe. So there's a tremendous abundance beyond this little blue marble that we live on. There's so much in the way of physical resources if we can just figure out how to efficiently get off this planet and start getting to other star systems. But these are the steps. We have to start with a dream. So having and utilizing the resources of our own galaxy would be Kardashev level 3. Now let's look at an example that we're all familiar with. If you've ever seen the movie, The Avengers, Endgame, right? So if you've seen Endgame, there's this device called the Dyson Sphere. Now, they didn't call it the Dyson Sphere in that film, but if you remember when Thor, Rocket, and Groot went to Nidavellir to build Stormbreaker, that giant contraption around the dwarf star Nidavellir was basically something called a Dyson sphere. It's a construct designed to harness a particular sun's energy. So this is theorized that you could build an entire construct around a star and then have all of the energy of that star being harnessed and utilized by that particular society. So that's what we're talking about. The level of efficiency needed to harness, magnify, and store the energy of entire suns. That would be Kardashev level 3. Kardashev level 4 is where you can effectively use the power of multiple galaxies. Now that starts to get mind-boggling as far as, the amounts of energy. And you start thinking, why would we ever need to use the energy of an entire galaxy? Well, the point of it is not, whether or not we actually utilize the energy, it's whether or not we can. Do we have the technology to do so? Right? So if we had the ability to utilize the energy of multiple galaxies, that is unbelievable. But one of the things that I was, kind of seeing when I was going through the research for this particular episode is that, there's a void called the Boötes void, right? B-O-O umlaut T-E-S, the Boötes void, okay? It is a huge expanse of trillions of miles in space in which there are remarkably fewer than average number of galaxies than any other portion in the observable universe, right? So what happens is that I'll tell you this right now. It is also known as the Great Nothing. Think about that for a second. There's a spot in outer space called the Great Nothing. By the law of averages, there should be 2,000 galaxies in this one particular spot in outer space, but there's only 60. So there's a tremendous amount of emptiness in this one spot called the Boötes void, right? Or the Great Nothing. And it is theorized, and I don't know, this is, speculation, that there may have at one point existed a Kardashev level 4 society that utilized all of the galaxies in that particular sphere. Which I sit there and go, that's insane. Like, how is that possible? But I'm just theorizing this. I'm not the one that wrote this, by the way. And I think it's really, really fascinating as far as being able to measure whether or not we're growing as a society. And by the way, a lot of these things that I'm talking about, they will never even be, accomplished within my lifetime or many lifetimes from now. But what's the whole point is that if we can figure out ways to start dreaming about these things and shave off a few thousand years here or there, then this remarkably extends the ability for us as a species to be able to exist. So that's the deal, is that it was theorized that some society ate up all the stars of 2,000 galaxies that are supposed to be in the Great Nothing. Now, that's not really true if you delve into it. I'm just kidding about this society eating, civilization eating up all those galaxies. It's really, for all intents and purposes, from what I can see, it's just a natural phenomenon. As the universe expansion happens, it's pushing out that area. There's just less galaxies in those areas, so to speak. But if we could utilize multiple galaxies, that would be Kardashev level 4. Think about how much further along we'd have to be to efficiently use up galaxies. Now we come to Kardashev level 5. By the way, I have this shirt again, just to kind of see the strive for 5. And this is the reason why I say strive for 5. Is because I feel like we should be pushing the envelope of becoming the best versions of ourselves to become a society or a civilization that's worthy of being a Kardashev level 5 society. And that starts with us improving ourselves. A Kardashev level 5 society or civilization could be considered to utilize multiple universes. Now you might think, oh my gosh, burning a whole universe, that would be extremely wasteful, right? All of our, environmental conservatives would be like, oh my gosh, why would we want to burn an entire universe? That doesn't sound like something that I want to do. But at that level, you would have total control over space and time. If you guys saw the movie Interstellar, and I'm sorry for the spoiler alert, and by the way, Interstellar is like one of my favorite movies of all time. Matthew McConaughey says it was always us, right? So he goes to, the Tesseract. If you watch the movie, I apologize for the spoilers, but he goes to this construct made by what I would consider to be Kardashev level 5 beings that have mastered interdimensional travel and the utilization of energy of multiple universes, right? He said it was always us. I cannot tell you how inspiring I consider Interstellar to be, because it's basically saying that he, at a particular point, is the representation of the evolution of us as a species interacting with a further evolution of our species that has now mastered the, complete utilization of space and time. That movie, watch it again. It's not just an entertaining movie. It is actually, in my, the way that I think about it, I think it's one of the most inspirational movies for a civilization that was ever created in the short period of time that we've even been making movies. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. So we could control space and time, which would be fantastic for our evolution. So what kind of transition would we have to make in order to be able to be like that? It's an incredible thing to think about. But why wait thousands and thousands of years? Why don't we just start moving towards it and do things that we would have to do? See, I feel like if we can't, as a society, start dream of the most ideal states of our existence, then we're never going to get there. And we'll constantly be running around in this endless state of bickering and fighting if we don't have something that helps us to rise above and drive our civilization, drive our species to survive at a much higher level. We're not on a trajectory of being able to hit Kardashev level 5 or even Kardashev level 1 for that matter anytime soon. I think that Carl Sagan's saying that it's going to take us 200 years to even get to Kardashev level 1 is a very generous estimate at the trajectory that we're on. We're actually, in my opinion, going backwards into a dark ages if we don't get our act together soon. The whole point of this channel is, can we just define the ideal on many facets of our existence, whether it's Kardashev or it's just treating people right, doing right by others, right? And so this is what I want us to start thinking about. In an earlier Coleman Nation, we talked about the qualities of an ideal civilization, right? The responsibility of being one of them, right? Responsibility being one of the key hallmarks of a great civilization is the individual responsibility of every single member of that society. Having an extreme ability, as in Kardashev level 5, of utilizing whole universes makes responsibility very important. Just because you have the ability to do so does not mean that you should or that you would. The definition of responsibility I gave in that podcast is a statement of cause. It's also the ability to withhold. Responsibility is to say, I did this, or I am not going to do this. Those are the two opposite sides of the same coin regarding taking responsibility. Now, one of the reasons I really admire Elon Musk is because he is literally pushing the envelope to get us to a Kardashev level 2 society. If you were to ask yourself, who is the one person on the planet who is driving us towards the next level in the Kardashev scale? The answer without reservation would be Elon Musk. He's sitting there going, we've got to shortcut this, guys. If we have any chance, if we want to have any chance of surviving as a species, we got to get our act together and get to a Kardashev level 2. I'm sure that in his mind, he's thinking much further out than that. The only unfortunate thing is that, we have these frail bodies that we exist in this plane of existence that, only give us a very limited time to do a lot of work in. So to be able to set those goals and really aim for, lofty heights, I think is important for us to start doing right now. We're in a tailspin as a civilization. If we're going to continue to make it and survive as a species, he's got the right idea. We've got to get off this rock, and getting to Mars exponentially increases our ability to be able to survive as a species. It also is something that aligns us all in the same direction, which I think is very admirable. I think that this is something that JFK was doing before he was assassinated, right? Was that he was literally trying to figure out ways. The space program, primarily chief in that endeavor, was to align all of us as a country towards the goal of getting off the planet and going to the moon. And ultimately, I think that that would serve as an inspiration for all of mankind to be able to do the same. I think the people who criticize Elon Musk's efforts are remarkably short-sighted. They say, this is what we have and we must protect it, and he's being wasteful and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I literally have a friend who just goes on about like, why is he wasting all of his billions of dollars, and how come he doesn't spend money on handling hunger and blah, blah, blah. A society without long-term goals is not a society worth saving. Let me tell you that. If we don't have long-term goals of being able to move towards a higher plane of existence, then there's no reason to even continue, right? And so this is why having someone like Musk set these goals for us long-term is extremely important. And I'll tell you, I've talked to people that work at SpaceX. I have friends that work at SpaceX. And the thing is that they are all inspired in their endeavor, and they know that they're doing something that's greater than just themselves. Regardless of whether Elon Musk exists or not, we would have to figure out ways to get off of this rock. If we limit ourselves only to what is here, that is a grim destiny. But I think Elon Musk is missing a couple of points. If you watch any space movie, there are always villains who will sacrifice civilization and progress for money, power, and fame. Those literally inconsequential possessions that are not for the greater good in any way, shape, or form. It's so crazy that in every space movie that you see, you have some guy that wants money and fame and power, and it doesn't do anything to move civilization forward because they've lost sight of the bigger picture, which is that what we need for humanity to make it to the next level is to be inspired. This is what I really feel that Musk will have to solve, right? Is the fact that there's this inherent sort of, moral decay, that it's always the bad guy, that their morality and their desire to help civilization, is actually has deteriorated to the point where greed and power is the thing that overcomes, their ability to make good decisions. It's not just, oh, we're going to have to take all these personality analyses and we're going to have to judge all these different types of things and whether people have the mental capacity and all that kind of stuff. What it really boils down to is just a few qualities that people will have to have if we're going to entrust them to physically get off this, like I said, this little blue marble. Okay, so what are the things that Musk is going to have to conquer in selecting a group of people in order to be able to go to Mars? Number one, chief amongst the qualities that he was going to have to find. Obviously, there's going to have, prerequisites of science and space stuff and, all those types of things. But as you start to refine the people that will go, the number one quality that he's going to have to find and really assess accurately is trustworthiness. Can the person be trusted to make the right decision? Referring back to the movie Interstellar, they had to trick people into thinking beyond themselves to what had to be done for humanity. That was really sad. It was super stupid, right? But if you look at some of the people that were in that movie, they exemplified the highest levels of responsibility. They would have done it if you had just given them the truth. Now, obviously, I think that, you need a little bit of that villain, you need a little bit of that Dr. Man in order to be able to, have a good story. But if they had just told the truth to the people, right, it would have been, I think, a lot better, and they would have accomplished the goal. They would have done it if you had just given them the truth. And there will always be people like that. And those are the people that can be trusted, is who is going to do the mission for the goodness of everyone. The other thing that was really inaccurate about that movie is that you never send a mission with one person. That goes back to like everything about the military, Sun Tzu's Art of War, basic, mission objectives. You cannot send a single person. They will mentally break down. Anyways, I digress. That's a completely different story for a different time. Okay, the second quality, the first one being trustworthiness, the second quality that they would have to have is perspective and vision. That's going to be another thing that Musk will run up against. People who don't have perspective and don't have a vision of what he's trying to do or what is the best for society and civilization. Okay, lack of vision. Okay, the third thing, and of all three, this might be the most important factor in making the decisions about who to send off the planet in order to be able to make it a successful mission, is morality. Morality is the ability to tell right from wrong. How do you define right and wrong? Some people define right as having money or the acquisition of things. For other people, it's the acquisition of fame or some other thing. But morality is not any of that. Morality is what decision will progress overall survival. That is the moral choice that needs to be made. Without these three things, we will always be racing towards progress against a headwind, meaning that we will always have a pushback as we're trying to progress. As long as we have those three things in place, trustworthiness, perspective and vision combined as one, and morality will have a tailwind instead. If you have those three things with certainty in the people who are going to be making the decisions and moving things forward for us as a civilization, I think that would have a good foundation to move us towards that finish line and at least progress towards the next level in this Kardashev scale. But what do you think of when we talk about the Kardashev scale? What are some of the thoughts that come to mind for you? I'd love to hear from you. Leave some of your answers in the comments. If you found this to be an interesting and valuable episode, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Please make sure that you turn on notifications so that when we have a follow-up to this and any other content, that you're the first one to get informed as such. I'm excited to hear all of your feedback and comments, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Take care, everybody.